Hey y'all, Knox here with the American Suppressor Association, and welcome to the end-of-year Suppressor Policy Update. In this video, we're going to take a look back at all the things we've done and all the places we've been, so consider this the highlight reel for 2023. Let's get started with wait times. The hardest part about tracking wait times is getting access to good, consistent data. At the time of filming, ATF hasn't updated data on their website since November 1st, which is nearly 2 months ago. We've reached out directly to ATF inquiring about wait times, and if we receive information before this video posts, we'll be sure to include it in the graphic above. But for now, we haven't heard from ATF in some time, so we're going off the data that we have. Earlier this year, ATF updated their website with a new format for Form 4 processing times. In the past, they just broke down the processing times for paper forms and eForms, but starting in August, they began to break it down further with the difference between individual and NFA Trust applications. So rather than 2 data points, we now have 4. Looking at the data points since August, wait times have trended in the right direction, but honestly, not by much. We know from discussions with ATF that eForms applications make up about 95% of all the forms they receive, so talking about the decrease in time for paper forms is almost irrelevant, especially since they're still slower than eForms. So for individual eForm applications, the wait times have gone from 190 days in August to 175 days in November. That's about an 8% difference, give or take. For NFA trusts on eForms, which make up about half the applications submitted, wait times have gone from 241 days in August to 225 days in November. That's about a 7% decrease. Shaving 15 or 16 days off a 200-ish day process is all good and fine, but if we're being honest, it just isn't good enough. Yes, it's true that the volume has increased and that 2023 is shaping up to be the biggest year for NFA transfers by far. But let's not forget that it is 2023, and available technology is decades past the point where an NFA transfer should be anything more than instantaneous. If we've said it once, we've said it 1,000 times, but there's just something about hearing it straight from the director.
I would agree with you that the processing times are too long.
At the beginning of November, ASA did sit down with ATF at their headquarters in Washington, D.C. to discuss improvements for the eForm system. Among the key takeaways was a commitment to ATF to allow applicants to put multiple serial numbers on the same eForm application. This functionality is something ASA has been asking for since before the new eForm system launched 2 years ago, but that's neither here nor there at this point. What's important is that ATF has finally expressed a willingness to incorporate this no-brainer functionality into eForms. When's that going to happen? Your guess is as good as ours, but we will be following up with ATF at SHOT Show in January and hope to get an answer there. Speaking of eForm improvements, back in June, ASA asked ATF if they would implement an error resolution process for applications that had basic clerical errors. That includes things like misspelling your address or accidentally typing your birth year as 1874 instead of 1974, but they do not include answers that make you a prohibited person. Well, ATF listened and began giving applicants 72 hours to fix the problems. We appreciate them for reintroducing error resolution to the process so folks with honest mistakes in their applications aren't penalized with additional wait times, and we are working to extend that 72-hour window to 7 to 10 business days. If we're successful, we'll certainly let you know. All that to say, here's to hoping for positive movement on wait times in 2024. On the legislative front, 2023 was incredibly active, but not in the ways we would have liked. We helped defeat head-on suppressor bans in Virginia and New Mexico, we fought hard in Washington state, and we actively opposed yet another assault weapons ban in Colorado that, among other things, tried to restrict threaded barrels. We do anticipate that more states will try to ban or restrict suppressors, and that any time that occurs, we will fight those attempts tooth and nail. Thankfully, next year's an election year in most states, which usually means shorter budget sessions for the legislature. When it comes to playing defense, that's a good thing, because when the legislators aren't at the Capitol, there's a lot less bad stuff they can do. Earlier this year, the ASA Foundation and Silencer Shop teamed up to support Anderson v. Raoul, a lawsuit challenging the state of Illinois' suppressor ban. Silencer Shop contributed $350,000 so that we could hire the best law firm in the country to represent our plaintiffs. Elevated Silence, Rugged Suppressors, and Silencer Co. have all contributed financially as well. Now, I'd imagine a lot of you are asking, why should I care about Illinois? I'll tell you why. You should care about Illinois because if we're successful with this lawsuit and the 2 additional lawsuits we plan on filing as soon as we've raised enough money, suppressors will become legal in all 50 states. That means tens of millions of people who are prohibited by law from buying a suppressor just because they happen to live in the wrong state will have their constitutional right finally restored. But perhaps most importantly, if we are successful with our litigation strategy, no legislature in this country will ever be able to ban suppressors again. Not at the local level, not at the state level, and certainly not at the federal level. We have fought hard this year to defeat attempts to ban suppressors in Virginia, New Mexico, Colorado, and Washington state, and we've pushed back against criminal Senator Bob Menendez's push in D.C., and thus far we have been successful. But make no mistake, at some point our luck will run out. Since day one, 50-state legality has been a cornerstone goal for ASA. Anderson v. Raoul and the 2 additional lawsuits are our best opportunity to ensure that we never lose ground and that your Second Amendment right to own a suppressor is fully recognized once and for all. At the end of November, we hosted our annual ASA Suppressor Industry Forum in Austin, Texas. The event was made possible by title sponsors Silencer Shop and Elevated Silence, as well as dinner sponsor Silencer Co. In total, we had over 40 attendees from 16 of the leading companies across the industry. It was a fantastic way to bring our community together to discuss the challenges and opportunities facing our industry in the future. While we were in Austin, we also hosted the ASA Foundation's inaugural Silent Night banquet at the Bullock, Texas State History Museum. Special thanks to Silencer Shop and Elevated Sounds for stepping up as the title sponsors once again, and for additional sponsorships from Silencer Co., Sig Sauer, NBS, and Gemtech, as well as Captain Chad Fleming for telling his remarkable story as our keynote speaker. The event had one mission: raising much-needed money for the ASA Foundation lawsuits we just told you about. Now, lawsuits are incredibly expensive. To see these 3 lawsuits through, we need to raise about an additional $1.25 million. But when we're successful and your constitutional right to own suppressors is finally recognized, that will be money incredibly well spent. Our stretch goal was to raise $250,000 to put towards these lawsuits. We ended up raising about $168,000, which for a first ever event was pretty phenomenal. So thank you to everyone who came out and supported our inaugural Silent Night banquet. We already cannot wait for next year. 2023 was a heck of a year, and 2024 is shaping up to be no different. We will not stop fighting at the American Suppressor Association until suppressors are legal in all 50 states and you don't have to wait to buy one. If you like what we're doing and want to support our work, click the link below or visit us at asamember.com. That's asamember.com to join or donate to ASA today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next year.